The four elements of life are air, water, fire, and earth. Can you connect any of them with any of the scenes? How's life? The episode category is underrated treasures, and I'm here to share my views on a screenplay which was once stuck in the development hell for ages. Wait, you have heard of the development hell, right? Like I've said in one of my episodes, I was writing a feature and it got cancelled because of the pandemic situation. I'm not sure whether I'll be ever be able to go forward with that screenplay in the coming years because pandemic is just one reason. Now think of the projects which got stuck in the pre-production or production because of various reasons. Yeah, that's it. You figure out what is getting stuck in the development hell or development limbo means. So let's talk about the Secret Life of Walter Mitty, which got released in 2013. Walter Mitty is someone who is the best example to use the word Nefelibata in a sentence. Wait, for those who haven't heard of the word Nefelibata, its origin is from Portuguese, derived from the word Nefele, which means cloud, and Bata, which means a place where you can walk. So Nefelibata means cloud walker, an individual who lives mostly in the clouds of his own or her own imaginations or dreams. Most of us can relate to that word, right? We tend to stick to our imaginary world, right? So much. See, it's an innate tendency to forget the dull, boring reality and embrace the adventurous, heroic, imaginary world, right? Walter Mitty is somebody of this kind. He usually gets zoned out to his own world. Both his life and the Life magazine faces a drastic change when Life gets acquired, and they are the magazine's newly formed managerial staff. They have decided to, and the board they have decided to uh, stop the printing to focus entirely on its online version. So, for the last print edition, Walter is supposed to process the 25th negative in the role which is sent by legendary photojournalist Sean O'Connell. And Walter realizes that the 25th negative is missing, which is said to have captured the quintessence of life. Till then, Walter has only dreamt of adventures and imagined how heroically he would win his crush Cheryl, but in search of Sean O'Connell and the quintessence of life. Walter Mitty sets off on the most adventurous journey ever. If you haven't read the short story, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, written by James Thurber, pause this video right now and go read it. You'll find the link in the description below. In a few words, the original story is about a Walter Mitty who goes into his imaginary world where he's adventurous and heroic, but in reality, he's a lazy nobody who is merely surviving this world. Even his wife thinks he's such a mundane man who doesn't even pay attention to what she says. He thinks he's good for nothing. So whenever possible, he slips into his imaginary world as if that's the only purpose of his life. That's what he thinks. So uh, if you've read the story, you would realize that the original content is so different from the adaptation, right? That's how adaptations are supposed to work actually. Adaptation shouldn't merely transform something textual into visuals. At the same time, the soul of the short story written by James Thurber can be found in the screenplay written by Stephen Conrad. So this new 2013 version is not the remake of 1947 version, but a free adaptation of the original screenplay. I mean original short story. Now let's dive deep into the movie. Spoilers ahead. Why did Steve Conrad and Ben Stiller chose to make Walter Mitty a negatives asset manager? And the Life magazine, any correlations? See, there are a lot of readings. You go with what you feel like. It clearly portrays how digitization in every field affected those who had old school jobs. Magazine's name Life could be literally life. The transformation of Life magazine to Life online could be humans getting separated from each other and restricting the real life experiences within the bounds of the screens they own. Embracing the virtual life, the online life, totally forgetting the history and what we are sacrificing. This is just one read. The motto of Life magazine comes often through visuals and dialogues. It's even engraved on the wallet, which Sean gives Walter. It's a poem. To see the world, things dangerous to come. To see behind walls, to draw closer, to find each other, and to feel. That is the purpose of life. Those words can summarize the whole movie. Also, that has to be the purpose of our real lives, right? Let's push such readings apart and try to figure out why Sean called the negative 25 the quintessence of life. The origin of the word quintessence can be plotted to late Middle English as a term in philosophy via French from medieval Latin, quinta essentia, which means the fifth essence. So, in classical and medieval philosophy, a fifth substance, in addition to the four elements, thought to compose the heavenly bodies and to be latent in all things. Too abstract and dry for some of you, but think it this way. According to some philosophers of those sort, the four elements of life are air, water, fire, and earth. Can you connect any of them with any of the scenes? Air, when he imagines Cheryl singing him David Bowie's Space Oddity, ground control to Major Tom. I was trying to sing it, but I shouldn't. Anyway, so with that song, he finds courage and he leaps into a helicopter in Greenland. That's air. Water, when he jumps into the Greenland Sea, which is an arm of the Arctic Ocean, to mount on the boat, right? Fire, when the volcano erupts in Iceland and Walter has a narrow escape from the pyroclastic flow, that thick, dark smoke which can blanket and kill everything. And finally, Earth, when he mounts and conquers the upper Himalaya situated in the ungoverned Afghanistan and finds Sean O'Connell. So the movie is about quintessence of life, the fifth element, which is what? See, when asked, Sean says to Walter that he is sitting on it. He has mentioned in the little note that he should look inside. Literally, it asks him to look inside the wallet, but he didn't look and he had to go through and conquer all the other problematic elements. Anyway, what's the subtext? Look inside. Yeah, the quintessence of life is within us. You have to look inside and you'll find it. Walter always goes into the dream world because he was not making an effort to live in the moment. But while observing the snow leopard through the camera, Sean never clicks it and says, if he personally like a moment, he doesn't want the camera to be a distraction. He just wants to stay in it. This kind of changes him. He tries to live in the moment from then on. Well, you got to do what you can with what you have. When he flies back and lands at LA, he gets detained, and the eHarmony website representative, Todd, helps him to get out. This is not how he pictured Walter Mitty. He pictured him as a little gray piece of paper. That he was, right? That he was a little gray piece of paper. He was invisible uh, from the very beginning of the movie. He is somebody who wears attires that don't grab any attention. He just want to merge with the mute gray color palette we can see plenty in the first act. All the humans who live mechanical lives are shown in the supplementary mute colors. Upon the Himalayas, when asked about the photo, Sean says it literally, let's call it a ghost cat, Walter Mitty. But when we watch the movie for the first time, we would never decode that he was again being literal. He was not hiding in plain sight. He was not at all hiding anything. Walter Mitty was the ghost cat. That's why makers particularly use this snow leopard reference. Sean even says that beautiful things don't seek attention. There are a lot of Walter Mittys in this world. They just want to merge in the crowd and go unnoticed. But they have the most beautiful minds. Producer Samuel Goldwyn Jr., whose father produced the 1947 film adaptation of the movie, thought of remaking it in 1994. But since then many writers and directors and actors came aboard but left the ship midway for various creative and personal reasons. Finally, the movie got released in 2013 when Ben Stiller steered it as both as the lead director, I mean lead actor and right director. That means The secret life of Walter Mitty was stuck for 19 years in development limbo. It will always remain so close to my heart. Anyway, who knows, maybe the greatest idea anyone ever had never took off because of some petty issue, and yeah, let that sink in slowly. So that's it for this episode. I'll do my best to be back in a couple of weeks or maybe a month. Spread the word about this hobby of mine. Take care, stay safe, peace.